Hey guys, Manipulation here with a quick hotkey video. The first thing I want to go over as far as the hotkeys is actually my personal setup, because I do have a few minor differences with the standard layout. So the way to find this is to go into your options, and then there's this tab down here called hotkeys. So as you see, mine is just set to Kyle, so that way whichever region or whatever I'm on, I can go to it. Now, I don't really mess with any of the hotkeys as far as races go, but I do have some differences in global. So as you can see in unit management, I have the select all army units unbound. I would describe myself as a slightly aggressive player, and I like to do, if I'm playing Terran, like multi-prong drops or whatever. And having this F2 key bound, if you become reliant on it, can be a really big issue. So if you can, I would suggest trying to get used to playing without it. I just think it makes you a little bit of a better player. I have this unbound. I'm not 100% sure what that did to begin with, to be honest. But here are some of the key things that I have changed. My control groups. Alright, so control 9, I have it set to F1. I think F1 is set to your idle workers. I just unbind that and set control F1, and the way you do this is you click it and then you can create it, like here, I'll get rid of it. So you add an alternate, press the desired key, control +1, and then it sets it. So now whenever I hit control 1 in the game, it will set my 9 group for control, well, I wanted F1, but control F1. So now anytime I click F1, it will select my 9th hotkey. But something important to note is you actually need to be able to select it that way. So like if you don't come down here to select control group and put F1 as a way to select it, if you hit F1, nothing will happen. You'll actually have to hit 9 to use it. And I do believe that's pretty important. And go ahead and set Q for this. Or no, I won't, because that unbinds something. I'm not sure what it unbinds. Let's go ahead and set this for F2. Since I don't use F2, maybe I can set this for like my mothership core or something. We'll see. We will see. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Alright, so 6 unbound keys. Are you sure you want to hit save? I would hit no and check to make sure. Birth queen. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that undone. So I guess. Control group 1. Seems I unbound that too. Alright, so if you mess it up, it's pretty simple. You just click on the unbound thing, double click it, and then you can fix whatever you broke. So that's pretty much that. I don't really play Terran, so I'm not too concerned about that. And hit OK. Your active profile will be updated, and then that'll be all. Hit accept, and now you have your new hotkey layout. Alright, so now I'm just going to load up this bot game really quick to try and jump into the Terran hotkeys. Now, Terran is a race that has a bunch of different hotkey settings as well. From different pros, I see many different things. Obviously, I think the majority of them will keep command centers and whatnot on the control key 5, but since I am a noob and very used to having my command centers on 1, that is where I will be showing you where mine are. Alright, so basically for Terran, I like to hotkey the command center and my first SCV that I use to build things, because typically what you're going to do with it is you're going to build the first 2 buildings with the same SCV. So for example, that finishes up, now I make the barracks, and now I'm going to take the barracks and control 2. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and make my gas. So as you can see, I have my barracks hotkeyed to 2, and I'll be adding on more production as I go, so I can kind of show you. This one might be a little bit more lengthy, as I do have to add on the different production to kind of show you what it is that I like to do with Terran. So as you can see, I've got the command center still, got this. I'll send out an SCV to scout. I'll control that to 3, so I've got 1 that'll go to command center, 2 will take me to this, 3 will take me to that SCV. And since I'm not really doing a real build, I'll just go ahead and take the second gas so I can make my production easier. So one thing to note about Terran is that I like to put all of my production on 1 hotkey. Now not everybody does, but some people do. So now as you can see, I've got 2 barracks on 1 hotkey, and Whenever this finishes, I'll actually be able to produce from both barracks at the same time and without having to use another hotkey. So I'll show you that here in just a second. Go ahead and add another supply depot about where I would. And now I'm going to add the factory. So this is where my first real deviation comes in. Personally, I put it all on one hotkey. So what this means is I'm making stuff from my barracks, and then if I press tab, you'll see the factory selected. So you can actually just tab through your production facilities. But I also see a lot of people that will put the different production facilities on different hotkeys. And I will actually show you what each looks like here in just a second. So I've got my barracks. So what this means is, like, if I'm over here fighting, I can just press 2, AA, make Marines, and then 3, and I'll have my factory selected, and then I can select my army again and I'll be back to fighting. But this is why I don't really like that idea so much, is because now I've got a starport. So as you can see, I've got all of my production on one facility. AA to make Marines, press tab, press D, make a widow mine, press tab, and now I've got whatever's over here. But if I do it the other way, as you can see, not only am I eating up 3 control groups, I am going to be a little bit slower. Like, because if I just press 2, AA, tab, etc., it's a lot easier than 2, AA, 3D, and then 4, and make whatever I want to make out of that. Personally, I just prefer having it all on 2. So now whenever I rally something, I rally everything, which can be a bit of an issue. But if you're just trying to rally, say, your barracks, you can hit shift and click the other 2 away. Or you can hit 2, control click, and you'll only select whichever facility that you're trying to make stuff out of. So if I'm going mech and I have 2 factories and say I want to make tanks, I hit control click and now I've only got my factory selected. Say I want to lift this barracks off and use it as a scout because I'm going mech and I don't need it, I can shift click and now it's not in my control group anymore. So now all I have are these, and this barracks will go do its own thing. Another thing that's important to note is having all of your command centers on one hotkey is pretty useful. I mean, I think most people, I don't really see anybody put different command centers on different hotkeys, so I'm going to have 3 command centers on one hotkey. And what is this useful for, you might ask? Well, now that means if I have energy on any of my command centers, I'm going to know just from clicking on this. So as you can see, I have the energy for a mule, a scan, or whatever. So I can drop a mule, and probably more, I would imagine, if this was later in the game. So personally, like I said, I prefer having everything set to 2, but you can kind of do that however you like. But for me, it is definitely, I prefer having everything on one hotkey and then just tabbing through. It's pretty simple. It's not too big of a deal. And I mean, yeah, 2, 3, 4, that's not too big of a deal either, because if you know exactly what you want to make, then yeah, just pressing 2 might be a little simpler. But typically your production cycles, you're going to want to make everything kind of on a timer in your head. And now it's when I get into what I use F1 for. So I'm going to add my engineering bays, hit Control F1, and now I've got my engineering bays right here. So say I'm fighting, whenever I see this, you see it tells you whenever something finishes up. So what you can do is, if you pay close attention up here, you can see when things finish. The same goes for upgrades. So like, I press both of these, and I'm not going to wait the whole time for them to finish. But say I'm in the middle of a fight, say I'm across the map doing whatever, and then it says upgrade complete. You see your 1-1 is finished. Just press F1 really quick, add the other 2, and then you're good to go. You're still fighting. You don't have to look back from the fight or anything. Which, that is the real advantage to Terran production, is once you've got it down, you really don't need it. So you don't need to look back anyway until you need to add more. So let's say I'm over here fighting, I can burrow this, I notice my units respawn, I can make all my units, and then I can go right back to the fight, just like that. And then if your upgrades finish, you can just add on more upgrades. And now we're going to see, having all of your command centers on one hotkey means I can do whatever I want. I can drop my scans, I can mule, I can supply drop. Now if I have, I'm just going to say, let's say for some reason I have these all on different hotkeys, and they don't really have energy, so this is kind of a bad time to do it. But as you can see, I have to go individually through each command center to see if I have the energy to do anything. And then another advantage to having them all in one is, say you're waiting, like right now I'm getting attacked by DTs, so I'm trying to stay alive. I'll load everything up. I press 1, let's pretend I don't have energy for a scan. So I scan, I don't have energy. You can look right here, and you know any of these cost 50 energy. So just look at your orbitals, and hey, 2 seconds, I have 1 scan. And boom, there you go. Just little things that can really help you. As far as... Alright, let's lower this. Let's say I want to go for some sort of proxy, not a proxy, multi-prong attack. I'm going to load up this medevac, shift-click, and then control-3. So what shift-clicking does is it removes something from your selection, and then shift-clicking it again will re-add it. So basically now I'll just have this, and then I'll hotkey this to something else, and I'll send it off. Now let's say that I'm in a fight, and I don't want to have to worry about my Widow Mines, or say I'm in a fight and I want to worry about my Widow Mines. I can either control-click the Widow Mines and plant them, or I can control-click, shift-control-click, and get rid of them. Take them out of the hotkey altogether. Same goes for anything else. Say, moving across the map, for whatever reason, I don't want my Marines. Control-Shift, click the Marines, and now I leave the Marines behind. Which I don't really... The only time I can really see that being a thing if you're playing Bio is if... Let's pretend these are Marauders. You can move them. You can control-click the Marauders and move them up front to tank Banelings, or you can control-click your Ghosts to EMP Storms and stuff. So that's basically all I can think of for Terran. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as possible. And thank you for your time.